Clint sent him, I think, comes into the season with 16 career sacks, maybe 30 career tackles for loss. Is he the big play guy? I mean, does that qualify him as a big play guy? Those are probably pretty comparable statistics to Chris's after 3 years.
That would, it would say that his game will progress. He ought to be able to build off those numbers. Yeah.
What do you? I mean, we saw when he talked to us yesterday. He looked leaner than we'd ever seen him. And what do you expect from him this season?
He is a little bit. He is a little bit leaner. Doug, we didn't have any particular plan for that, but his off-season work has been really amazing. He's got a great dedication to this. He was one of those players that was really at the core of the whole attitude and mentality of last year's team. He's certainly not the only one, but has taken kind of responsibility to move that forward very seriously. He's pushed himself very hard here in the offseason, and he's a little bit trimmer than what he's been. And he said not getting too lean too early here in the year.
He said yesterday that he felt that the 3-4 was ideal for him. Is he? When you look at various schemes he could play in, is he the kind of the prototype?
Yes, he is. He when he was in high school, he was one of those players that we were really excited about trying to recruit him. I can remember watching his tape and saying, "Well, this is one of the guys that we're looking for." And we were thrilled when he decided to come to Virginia. He had never played the position before, but he had the body type and he had the athletic skills that would lead us to think that this is going to be a really good candidate. And he's developed very well through that. He's got a good versatility of skills. He's good at the point of attack. He's good off the edge. He's good out in space. So he's got a good range of skills. He deals well with all the requirements of the position, and has really learned it. He understands it very well. And he's looking for a big year, and frankly, I would expect the same out.
Was that Texas Tech game the ultimate example of that? I mean, he had his hand down the front quite a bit and didn't seem fazed by it.
No, he did that all year long. He was one of the ends on the nickel the whole year long. And so because of the nature of that offense, we played more nickel in the game than we had in other games. But his job wasn't any different than what it had been.
What about the other defensive outside linebacker spot? You got the three guys who started 100 games or whatever, and then so.
Yeah. Aaron Clark and Denzel Burrell came out of the spring there just about even. Been pleased with what the reports are about what they've done in the off-season. I mean, they've really, their numbers would indicate they've really stepped it up. Not that they hadn't been before. I mean, their performance numbers have jumped up. And would suspect that they'll stay in that competition throughout training camp. I'm looking forward to that competition, frankly, and really letting the players. I think this is a spot where there's a chance that the players might be able to very clearly determine it themselves.
Is Dietrich not in that mix at all now?
Probably he would be next in line, just on an experience basis. These kids are going into their fourth year around here because almost all the players who have played this outside linebacker position for us are players who were not linebackers in high school. It's not just a transition to college competition, but it's a whole different set of techniques and whatnot. That one has tended to have been take a little bit more developmental time than some other positions did. But he's a really good candidate, and did a nice job in the spring. And you know, he's one of the few freshmen who played last year, played on special teams. We needed him to help us last year. But part of the reason for that is we saw the potential for him to be in the mix this year. We wanted to get him into the games, so at least he had a feel for being in the games.
Appleby is going into his 4th year as a full or part-time starter. Is he capable of, more production and more big plays given his physical skills that are apparent?
Yeah, this should be his time. Another player that has been relentless in pursuing his game, really kind of helped to set performance for the team. So he's heavily invested in this. He's looking for it.
Is that a case where a guy like Copper takes some tackles that might come to him? You say he'd have more tackles, but Copper's just
right, as you can
more than his share of.
Sure. You see, when you look at John, which speaks tremendously, it's a tremendous endorsement of John, that he's been the leading tackler on the team for the last 2 years. Clearly, he doesn't look like what most of our linebackers look like. And so really the same mentality has applied with him, as was the case, as we were talking about with the quarterbacks. He was clearly one of the guys that we wanted to play with and could add a lot to the defense, but we had to shape things to accommodate what he did best, and that whenever you change one piece in the equation, another piece changes also. That kind of changed the role a little bit of what the adjoining linebacker did. So that's part of what the circumstance was.
Now we saw it from the home sideline several years ago with work, and now you're saying the other sideline. How hard is it to do what you're doing?
Well, I have tremendous respect for what they've done. As my wife and I were talking when we were watching the Orange Bowl a couple of years ago, and she made the comment that while there were a tremendous amount of deserved kudos being sent in the direction of cheering on the Wake Forest team, and she said nobody could appreciate more what they accomplished. What we had, and we certainly do. We've got a tremendous amount of respect for what they've done.
Forgive me for not knowing Bob Pruitt's entire bio, but Clint was saying that he's been working a lot with the secondary, and Byron was really soaking it up, and other guys were. I mean, is that something that comes natural for him?
But Bob's area as a position coach was always in the secondary, so that's where he's gone back to what he's got back.
How are you going to work the play calling and the game planning as far as the defense this year in comparison to last year? Will you be involved personally to the same degree, or is that to be determined?
That operation's going to stay very similar to what it was. But it worked pretty well, so.
Well, that old boy Pruitt, he might.
Bob's a great aide, and he's got great input.